Let's hear from Deron Wilson, his return to Florida.
When I was here the first time, you can feel the transition in culture that Coach Napier was building. And it was year one, and it was building a foundation. And when you watch them on the TV 3 years later, and you say, oh, shoot, man, this foundation is there, right? I was there for the roots of it, right? So being there for the roots, you can see it, right? But a lot of times nowadays, we want things to just, hey, whether it's, hey, get it done in 1 year, get it done in 2 years. No, when you're building something and it's a solid foundation, right, you want to build a house with bricks, right? And I think Coach Napier has done that with this program. He built it with bricks. And now it's a solid foundation, and I really believe we'll reap the benefits of that this season.
You look at the secondary last year, particularly Will, what he did, and particularly the takeaways. I mean, he set the bar pretty high. How do you guys continue, that momentum in terms of, taking away the ball and doing such, in the secondary play?
I think takeaway, it's a mentality. It's a culture that I think Coach Napier, Coach Roberts, they've built here. Whether it's shots at the ball, whether it's when it's an opportunity to catch the intercept, you catch the intercept. It's just a mentality that you have to have that I think our head coach and our defensive coordinator, they've done a good job of building that culture.
What do you make of your group of the cornerbacks that you're getting to oversee?
I think we have a really positive problem with the guys that we have in the room. With from a corner perspective, we have a whole bunch of depth. Whether it's Devin Moore, who has a bunch of playing experience, Kamani played a good bit last year, Dede Johnson played a good bit, Teddy Foster's getting more comfortable, and he's a reliable guy. We have Jameer, who's played in some games and was anticipated to play a lot, start in the bowl game. We have a group of young guys that's coming in that'll be really, really good players, So I think Mike Caraway has played a whole bunch of ball at another school. So we have a really good problem in the room, meaning, hey, whoever go out there, it don't matter, right? We have standard, which the standard, no matter who it is, hey, go out there and take care of business.
What have you seen from Ben Hanks in his first semester on campus?
Ben Hanks is an extremely talented young player. He's still learning to play college football, but he's really, really talented, and he's grasping the concept of a college football player. If you look at from day one of spring ball to day, that was 14 just now, he's a totally different player. The body's different, mindset is different, right? So he continues to grow.
All right, we'll go through this group in here in just a second. But remember, Wilson's familiarity, it dates back, of course, a stint at Florida, but also comes the 2022 season as a quality control specialist with the Gators, while having a stint also at UTSA under Pete Golding, and that's the same defense. Pete Golding is a part of the Ron Roberts branch. He's a branch of the Ron Roberts defense, a branch of that coaching tree there. So very familiar. So that's one reason, of course, being brought there from UTSA to Florida. There's familiarity, but he just fits right in. And remember, he was just a quality control specialist right there. So, familiarity being in Florida, that's what he talks about. That's a big, big part. He doesn't have to learn everything from scratch now. So it's a big boost there for Florida's defense. However, Roberts and Wilson's relationship goes much further than that. Quote, he helped obviously recruit my son to McNeese when he was there. So, it's a lot longer probably. That's what Ron Roberts had to say. You say, yeah, he was here at Florida. Well, I've known him a lot longer than that. So I'm excited about him, Ron Roberts said earlier this spring. So went on to say he's an incredible teacher, coach, all that great stuff, but a great person. But, Wilson comes in, one of 3 new defensive coaches, and we're all going to hear from him tonight. But he says you'd never be able to tell that he, Bala, Sunseri have never worked together. Says it feels like he's been working with those guys for the last 3 years. Wilson says there's great collaboration between him and safety coach Vinny Sunseri. Says they are one. You can't really separate the two rooms. If you do that, then there's busted coverages. They start to happen. There's palms up in the air, to ask what happened. They don't want that. So the rooms, corners, and safeties are one. So Wilson also, he just explained that this is the easiest transition he's ever had due to his familiarity with the staff, the system, the players, the city, campus. Remember, he was on staff when Florida was recruiting some of these older DBs that Florida has in the room. And that has helped the transition. Sharif Denson, Cormani McClain, Devin Moore. On that note, he's had a chance to go even more in depth on cornerback Cormani McClain, mentioning that he was here for Cormani's high school recruitment, but not really knowing the story and the detail of all the drama that went on originally. Remember, that would have been very early in Cormani's recruitment, being Billy Napier's first year. He was already, after Billy Napier's first year, he had already left and gone to Arkansas. So it wasn't here for all of the Cormani drama, but was on the very, very beginning stages of it with this staff. Calls McClain a stud, and what we want to hear. All the talk of Cormani McClain decommitting from Miami and going to Colorado, hit the transfer portal, and there's so many questions. Should Florida take him? What would he do to the locker room? Well, there were no issues last year. There was a tiny bit of a bumpy start. It got quickly remedied. No more problems. And then Wilson, he's always on time, he says. He's where he's supposed to be, doing what he's supposed to be. He's a great kid. He's had no issue. On the field, Cormani has always been extremely talented, he says. Great change of direction, really long. Great top-end speed. Those are the details of the position he continues to get better at, and all those come together to achieve the goal he needs to achieve. On Devin Moore, Wilson said he's a stand-up kid, hard worker. Getting to the ball is never an issue. He was like that as a freshman when Wilson was here, and he still sees that in him today. Does say he's a lot smarter, of course, because of all the game experience, and says Moore was excited when he was coming back to Gainesville to be the DB coach. He said, quote, "I feel like myself and the room as a whole have definitely accepted him," said Devin Moore. Quote, "It's an easy transition for me because he was here my freshman year, part of my recruitment, and I got to develop a little bit of a relationship with him. So coming in, still preaching much of the same stuff Coach Harris was preaching, bringing his own swagger too. He came in with that confidence. All the guys in the room are ready to work." So, of course, not to mention his experience in Florida's defensive scheme has instilled confidence in this room and looking to build off that strong close to the 2024 season. Quote, "He showed up here first day. He hadn't even moved his stuff over, and he was telling us stuff that we added on last year, like the few last games. He's telling us new stuff like that we didn't forget about. He already knows it." So him being able to come in here, that's what Devin Moore had to say. So him being able to come in here first day, just getting off the flight and just knowing the terminology and teaching us and coaching us, it really opened my eyes because not a lot of coaches can take in our playbook that fast. So there you go, familiarity in the same system. Now, when Wilson was here, we got to remember now, when Wilson was here, Mike Peterson is the only coach left over from that first defensive staff. Wilson was a quality control guy. The DC was Patrick Toney. But still, of course, the Ron Roberts defense. But we're talking about three new coaches here, but you got to remember, Mike Peterson was the only other coach that he'd have familiar with that was on the same first staff as him. Sean Spencer going, Gerald Chapman in. Austin Armstrong going, of course. Linebacker coach is Jay Bateman. He's gone. Will Harris, gone. Corey Raymond, gone. So that's just all the moves the last couple of years. Wilson returns as, an upgrade. But it looks a lot different than coaching personnel-wise than when he was here the first time. Wilson goes on to explain he's more of a... This probably will make a lot of people excited about his kind of mindset, his philosophy on defense. He's explained he's more of a press, bump and run type of cornerback coach. Mentioned in today's game that the only time you get hands on a receiver is when you're in press. That's in the first 5 yards. That's when his guys can impede receivers, disrupt timing. That's what he's looking for. That is the mindset he likes to approach the game with. He says he always laughs when people say corners can't tackle. Wilson says if you can't tackle, you can't play. It's that simple. So straight to the point. Straight to the point there. He went on to say that his time at Arkansas the last couple of seasons gave him familiarity within the conference. And knowing most of the opponents Florida faces, the main aspect he takes away from being in the roles he was the last couple of seasons was the speed of the game in the conference and really learning it's the real deal. Quote, being at Arkansas really helped the transition here. So, been around the SEC, quality control at Florida, on-field coach at Arkansas, just got a defensive coordinator job for Georgia State. Didn't even really get to go before he comes here to Florida. So if you look at the cornerback room, Devin Moore, of course, has got to stay healthy. Man, they thought he played good Saturday in the spring game. He was tight on coverage. One of Florida's best cornerbacks has been when he's on the field. 6 and 7 games he started in 2024. Had that season-ending shoulder injury, of course, against Georgia. Career high 17 tackles. He had 2 interceptions, of course, 4 passes defended. He allowed only 50% of career targets and coverage to be caught, 18 to 36, and has graded out as one of Florida's top 5 defenders. Injuries in all 3 seasons, of course. Played 278 snaps in 2024. Of course, expected to be cornerback 1. I mean, no Jason Marshall, no Jakeem Jackson. Those were the top 2 guys starting last year. We knew if Devin Moore could stay healthy, can be as good. Played well last year. Now it's just about staying healthy. Talked about him a few weeks ago here on Gators Breakdown. Deron Johnson, DD, of course, didn't do much in spring football. Got a starting role last year as the season went on. Jason Marshall out, Devin Moore out, so D.D. Johnson elevated. He led I don't know if you guys know this, led the cornerbacks last year with 550 snaps. 27 total tackles, 16 of them solo. 2 for loss, 2 passes defended, 1 quarterback hurry, 52% completion percentage allowed on 25 targets. Made his first career start against Georgia and then the final 4 games. Underwent shoulder surgery in January, so of course that's why he was limited this spring. Cormani McClain, we just talked about him, of course, but former 5-star, was at Colorado, walked on at Florida, now on scholarship, had that pick 6 against Kentucky, 4 tackles against Georgia, finished with 5 tackles there, 1 interception across 111 snaps. Thing for Cormani, bulked up in the offseason, got bigger. I think he was, had the cornerback 2 snaps all spring long, of course, because of DD being hurt. How does it? I'm going to assume game 1, as long as Dejon Johnson comes back healthy, probably Devin Moore and Dejon as cornerback 1 and 2. How much playing time has Cormani earned? I'm not asking that question in a bad way. It's just, clearly probably have guys in front of you. And we know Florida likes to rotate. They like rotate on defense anyway. I'm going to be interested to see how much playing time he gets. And him, he's clearly bigger. I saw him in uniform pretty close up on Saturday. He's definitely added on some pounds. Was raved about in the workout session, early spring ball as well. I want to see how it translates. For Cormani McClain. Of course, a couple of second-year players. Teddy Foster appeared in 5 games last year. See how much he can make up and get on the field. Jameer Grimsley, of course, transferred from Alabama last year. Nick Saban retires. He comes in. Underwent the ACL reconstruction surgery. Unavailable for spring. So we'll see what that means for him in the fall. Of course, Florida hit the transfer portal in the winter transfer portal for Michael Caraway, come from Southern Miss. Needed veteran presence, of course. 35 games, 15 starts there at Southern Miss. 17 tackles, 7 passes defended, 1 fumble recovery with the Golden Eagles. Last season, 37 tackles, 1 pass breakup, 1 fumble recovery. Then freshman. Now, right before halftime, there was a pretty good sequence of goal line. Had the goal line. It was a goal line stand. Offense, defense. And it was toward the tunnel, Florida runs out. So we're sitting there waiting for the basketball team right there in the tunnel. And then there's this sequence of plays. And we know Dallas Wilson was having a great day. And they were throwing the ball up in the end zone on one play. And it was what you like to see. Talking about all this true freshmen everywhere when we had to do our recap. Had Ben Hanks Jr. and Dallas Wilson. Hanks was handling his own right there in the end zone. There's a little fade route there to Dallas Wilson. Both guys get up in the air, and Ben Hanks right there, pretty tight coverage. Part of that great freshman recruiting class for the secondary. Of course, Otis Conan Banny, he'll be part of the fall. Did not take part in spring. We'll see what he does when he gets on the field. So go be competitive. Devin Moore, Dejon Johnson, 1-2. Cormani, and we'll see. Teddy Foster, Jameer Grimsley, how's he bounced back? Michael Caraway, how's he fit in? But there you go. Kind of look at the room. I don't know how you guys see it breaking out. Do you see Devin Moore, Dejon Johnson being clear 1 and 2? Is it more Devin Moore being a clear 1? And then behind him? See what Dejon and Cormani battle out when fall camp starts? I think Caraway's another interesting story. Comes in. I don't think anybody expected him to start. But how much does he work his way into the rotation?